My top 10 peaceful beginner fish coming right up. First on the list are the zebra Danios. So a gorgeous, really small little aquarium fish. You'll find them at many pet stores. They are pretty easy to breed. Lots of people have had success. The standard zebra Danios will have blue and white stripes on them, but you can also get gold versions and even longfin versions. These fish are very peaceful. They won't bother any other aquarium fish. They do get a bit nippy sometimes. They kind of get a bit excited. They are schooling fish. They like to be in schools, and they are very fast indeed. So you're going to need to have a minimum tank size of around 5 gallons, but man, I think 10 gallons minimum because they need that room to swim around and play in. Just don't keep these fish with any like really slow moving or slow eaters, or else those fish might not get to eat it unless there's plenty of surface space in the aquarium. Keep the pHs at a normal between 7.0 to 8.0, and they are a bit of a cold water fish, so you don't have to have a heater with them when keeping them in an inside home aquarium. All the way down to about 16 degrees Celsius I've had success with. It just make that aquarium a lot more active and make it a lot more busy. And plus they're very cheap, so they're great for beginners. So of course this has to be in my list are the platy fish. They are probably one of my favorite aquarium fish. Platies are great starting fish. They were actually the very first fish I ever kept. So platies, you'll find them at most pet stores again. This is a really common fish and one of the easiest fish to breed. They're live bearers, so they'll give birth to live young. Basically, you need a male and 2 female. They'll breed. The female will become pregnant, and then she'll drop the fry day. But I did a video about how to breed them if you want that specifically. The link is above. But so many varieties. I can count over 20 varieties you'll find at most pet stores. You're just going to get a lot of bursts of coloration in the tank as they're just full of color. They only grow to about 8 centimeters, so I do recommend a minimum tank size of 10 gallons. A gorgeous, amazing aquarium fish that is probably one of the best beginner fish out there. Now I just did a care guide on these fish, but they're called the honey gouramis. So people would normally have the dwarf gouramis in their list, but I decided to change it a bit, and since I've had so much success with these fish, I recommend the honey gouramis for any beginner fish. They're very small gouramis, one of the smallest. In fact, they only grow to about 4 centimeters. They are labyrinth breathing fish, so you don't need to have an aerator with them because they will breathe from the surface and take in the oxygen and atmosphere just as long as there is a current of fresh air coming into the aquarium from the top around here. But they are one of the most gorgeous. They have a great personality. They're super cute. They come up to you and they just like to kind of study you in a bit. Yeah, sometimes when you introduce them though, they do tend to be a bit shy, so it does take a few days or so until they're going to be nice and settled in the aquarium and be eating. I've kept these fish with lots of fast eaters, so what you just need to do in the first few days is just spread the food all across the aquarium and your honey gourami should be happy. You need to have the temperatures from 22 to 28 degrees Celsius. You're going to need a pH of 7.0 to 8.0. Yeah, they're very peaceful. You'll have success with any other peaceful fish that won't bother the honey gourami. But overall, another awesome aquarium fish. Next fish is a fish that I've really been taking more thought into, and I think I might make this a species-only tank of those fish. They're called the guppy fish, one of the most common aquarium fish out there you'll find at any pet store. They're bred all over the world, so you'll find them at many countries, most countries actually. They're just like the platies, they breed really easily, although guppies are also called the million fish because they breed even more. They will have hundreds of babies, but they're one of the hardiest fish. I recommend though Endler guppies as they have that stronger genetics in them because they're more wild, whereas guppies have been widely bred and the genetics have become unstable. Although when you get fancy varieties, they're most of the time they're expensive because first of all, they're hard to find, but second of all, since they're hard to find, they have a very stable genetic inside them, so they haven't been bred too much. They're just super fun to watch. They're moving constantly, and the fancy varieties you'll see the tails it looks like fabric, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know how people have bred such an amazing fish. But of course, you don't get colors like that out of the wild, so they did have to experiment with their genetics and stuff. So yeah, just keep that in thought. But man, I reckon every beginner should try these fish. Just as long as you get all the tank requirements right. 5 gallons or bigger, no smaller, no matter what. Even if it's temporary, I recommend 5 gallons as a temporary tank too. So yeah, they are another gorgeous aquarium fish. And I don't know how many times I've said gorgeous in this video. Now this next one is probably my favorite tetra, the Cardinal Tetra. You're probably thinking, don't you mean the neon tetras? No, I mean the cardinals. They are a lot more stable because they're harder to breed, but you'll still find them at most aquarium stores. They are a gorgeous fish. They actually bring out more coloration in the aquariums than neon tetras do. They're more brighter in color, as they have red going all across their body, whereas the neon tetras, they only have it going through the tail half of their body and not through their whole side, if you know what I mean. But they're fairly easy to tell, as I just said, and they are fairly cheap at the pet store. You'll get them for $2 a piece or something. You can even get deals where you can get $1 for each Cardinal Tetra I've seen before, but most breeders will sell them as they are another gorgeous aquarium fish. There are many videos out there if you do want to think of breeding them. You'll get lots of profit out of them, but the point is they are schooling fish, so make sure to have 6 or more. I have had more success with 10, as the bigger the better. People even have a huge aquarium and they put only Cardinal Tetras. They put hundreds of them, and man, it makes the aquarium look epic. I mean, your mind will be blown if you ever see a tank like that. And in fact, here's an example of one of those tanks. Amazing, right? I know, it's magic. But yeah, so I definitely recommend it. There's plenty of care guides out there. I've even done a care guide. I'll leave the link in the iCard above once again. But shall we move on to the next one? Fish is a bottom-dwelling fish. So the first bottom-dwelling fish on this list are the Corydoras Catfish. How could you not have a list of beginner fish without the Corydoras Catfish? They are an adorable little catfish. They're one of the smallest catfish you'll find out there. And the smallest Corydoras Catfish would be the pygmy cory. You can keep them in 5 gallons and even a bit smaller, but recommended 5 gallons or more, of course. But there's plenty of varieties out there. You'll find panda Corydoras, you'll find the peppered albino Corydoras, you'll find the bronze Corydoras. I have the bronze Corydoras and I love them. They're just a very interactive fish, very social. They do like to be in schools though, but some don't. So just make sure to do your research before you do buy them, because some like to be in schools, some don't. It's interesting. So sometimes you'll find in fish books that they'll say these fish are fine by themselves. You just need to do your research specifically on what type you want to get and what type there is at your pet store. So make sure before you think of buying some, you go take a look at your local fish store and you see what type of Corydoras they keep there. But you'll find that most stores you can probably the most cheapest would be the bronze Corydoras, as they're the easiest Corydoras catfish to breed. Yeah, they are very active. They'll be digging their little barbels into the substrate all day. They are a scavenger, so they scavenge for food, leftover foods in the substrate. So I recommend keeping them with smooth substrate and no sharp objects, or else it could really damage their nose and their whole body, and they're very fragile fish. Another schooling fish, what are the odds? The Harlequin Rabora is a gorgeous, gorgeous fish. But to be honest, I have only kept these fish once and I didn't have much success, but in the future I will keep them again and make sure I do it all successful again. Back then I wasn't good at fish keeping at all, but Harlequin Raboras, what can I say? They are a really cool little Rabora. They're one of the most common. You'll find them at most pet stores. Once again, how many fish will you find at most pet stores? But yeah, they are schooling fish. It's best to keep them in a school of 6 or more once again, but 10 or more would be better, guys. So they are fairly cheap. You just need to make sure you have the tank size. I recommend a minimum of 20 gallons, as these fish will have plenty of room to swim around and dart about. They are very active when eating. Once you show them the food, they go nuts. But that's really all I can tell you about these fish, as I didn't really have much success with these, but I certainly will in the future, trust me. Another bottom-dwelling fish. Yay. The Bristlenose Plecos! Woo! Yes, I love these fish. one of the easiest catfish to breed, in fact. Actually, they're a great starting breeding fish. I've seen lots of people with success keeping fish simple. Blake's Aquatics, I'll check out the channels. But yeah, they are a gorgeous fish. I've had many success with these fish. They do get a bit big. They do get to about 10 centimeters. So honestly, a 25-gallon or bigger is preferred. Lots of hiding spaces in the aquariums. It's preferred to have tunnels in them, as they like to breed in that. The males, they're easy to distinguish. Males will have the really long bristles coming out, and then the females will just have little like bumps on them. They're fairly peaceful. You can keep them with any small aquarium fish, really. They're great for community aquariums, as that's why they're on the list. When they're growing up, you'll get them really small at most pet stores, but they'll eventually grow like that big. That's how big mine is at the moment. I underestimated its size, to be honest. They do eat algae, of course, because they were just in my algae eating fish list, but once they are about 8 centimeters, you know, like a decently big size, you want to start feeding them algae wafers. I feed them these high carry algae wafers, and it seems to go nuts and is really happy whenever I feed it that. So it's always looking at me saying, hey, you're going to feed me. But they do hide once they get pretty big. Once they're sexually mature, they'll hide if there's no other Bristlenose Plecos in the tank, as they don't know really what to do. But sometimes I do see my big Bristlenose Pleco occasionally sucking on a bit of algae on the glass. But other than that, they are a fairly active fish when growing up, so definitely recommended, but recommended for fairly good sized tanks, of course, but definitely a great beginner fish. One of the first fish I started with, and I had lots of fun keeping these. Second last on the list are the ultimate YoYo Loach, also called the Pakistani Loach, as I like to call it, but they are an amazing little loach. They're probably my favorite loach and the only loach I've ever kept. But yeah, what I think about them is they are amazing. I love the patterning on their bodies, hence the name YoYo Loach. They actually, when you look at their body patterning really closely, you can see it kind of says yo-yo. Well, it does say yo-yo, so that's why they're called YoYo Loach. But Pakistani Loach, because they do come from Pakistan, they do like that warmer temperatures, of course, and they are fairly peaceful. They are one of the biggest snail-eating fish. They will eat snails, that's their main diet. If you have snails in your aquarium, say goodbye to them if you go introduce a Pakistani Loach into that aquarium. They were one of the first fish I ever kept, and I had a really big snail situation when I first started. There were snails all over the glass of the tank, like covering. I got the YoYo Loach, went away for about 5 days. When I came home, 2/3 of them were demolished and gone, and they were actually in the bellies of the loach. But do net out all the shells, because they don't eat the shells, of course. That's too hard. But they do have those whiskers, sensitive whiskers, so make sure to have smooth substrate once again. But they are very cute, and they're very social too, I've seen. Yeah, they're just they're really easy to keep. Warm, nice tank mates. Overall, another awesome beginner fish worth trying. 10th on the list, and these aren't in any order, this is just an order I just came up with, are the white cloud mountain minnows. This is what they look like. They are very pretty. Once you've kept them for a while, they'll show that amazing coloration, but at first they might seem pretty dull. I've been lucky because I happened to get 2 males and 2 females. They do like to be in a school of 3 or more, but honestly 6 or more. But they seem to be fine in a school of 4. I will get more in the future, of course, though, but the males will have those colourful fins, or they'll have colour on the fins, and they'll kind of be flowing a little bit. They'll be longer than the females. The female will have dull coloration on her whole body. She'll be grey with a few little black freckling on her body, but I've seen they do breed in the warmer temperatures. They're fairly easy to breed. They are egg-laying fish, and you just need to put a spawning mop in. And in the summertime, if you keep them outside, they'll just breed they'll lay their eggs amongst you, take it out. I did a DIY spawning mop on that, if you want to check it out. These are cold water fish, and they can live all the way down to 4 degrees Celsius, which I think is around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what the Fahrenheit, as I live in Australia. They're in my top cold water fish list, and they can live outside in ponds, in temperate areas. Just in snowy areas you might need a heater. But here it never snows, it only gets down to about 10 degrees, so you should be fine if you're somewhere like I am. And I've had so much success. In fact, it's winter right now, and they're living outside in the tank, nice and happy. So yeah, another awesome fish, super hardy, very hard to kill, which I think is what hardy stands for. Overall, another awesome fish you will not regret trying. Well, there you go, guys. There's your top 10 beginner peaceful community fish that will do great in a community aquarium and that I've had success with personally, at least most of them. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And with that being said, have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.